Hello, it's John Heaton. This evening I'm going to review an album from Bob Dylan, New Morning, from 1970, released October the 19th, 1970. Just a few months after the double album Self-Portrait had come out, which had pretty much been hammered by the critics and a fair portion of the public. Didn't pick up these albums at the time, but so I don't really know the historical context as such firsthand, just from what I've read. But this album got hailed as a comeback at the time. But I think that was, with hindsight, that was in relation to Self-Portrait as much as anything else. Because when you viewed Bob's entire catalogue, or say his catalogue up to 1980, I think a fairer description of a full comeback would have been Blood on the Tracks, or even Planet Waves, the one before that. But this certainly was more commercial than Self-Portrait, which had been a double album with a lot of cover versions and some unnecessary live material, bogging it down a bit. So it has its merits. It's not a particular favourite of mine amongst Bob's catalogue, but it's decent. Produced by Bob Johnston. Special thanks, Al Cooper. So Bob's playing acoustic guitar, electric guitar, organ and piano on quite a few tracks. A lot of piano on this album, actually. That's one of the notable features of it. Dave Bromberg on electric guitar, dobro. Harvey Brooks, electric bass. Ron Cornelius, electric guitar. Charlie Daniels, electric bass. Buzzy Faten, electric guitar. Al Cooper on organ, piano. Russ Kenkel on drums. Billy Mundy, drums. So, and a few ladies on backing vocals. So this is my new vinyl. Well, actually, I'll show you my original vinyl, which was picked up second-hand at Exeter University, at the second-hand shop in Exeter. It's seen better days, as you can see. But it's got the original CBS in a sleeve, advertising other CBS products such as Simon and Garfunkel there, and it's on the CBS label here. Not in brilliant condition, as I say, but it wasn't expensive. Picked up a lot of records at university secondhand, and this is the new vinyl. Quite interesting to compare the condition there. Very nice. I had to pick this up because I never owned a new copy of, or even a good condition copy. And this, like all Bob's new vinyl stuff, now on the Columbia label as opposed to CBS. So nice to have two copies of it. What else can we say? It got to number 7 in the US, and it was Bob's last number 1 in the UK up until 2009, Together Through Life, I was reading. So the album opens with If Not For You, which is one of the chestnuts of his back catalogue. And a lot of people have covered this song, most famously George Harrison on All Things Must Pass did a superb cover version of this. As it is, Bob does a kind of rough and ready version, which is quite charming. One friend of mine did say that he thought Bob's version was too loose, and George's version was too slick, and he prefers the demo of Bob and George in the studio laying it down around 1970. He thinks that's the best of the three. I don't know. I think if push comes to shove, I would choose George Harrison's version as the best version of this song. It's not often I prefer cover versions to the original, but in this case I think I would. Interestingly enough, there's footage, if you get the Concert for Bangladesh DVD, one of the bonus features is George and Bob rehearsing this song in the afternoon or before the first show, just on a couple of acoustics, looking into each other's eyes and trying to work it out, the harmonies. Because there weren't harmonies, they didn't harmonise on either George's version or this version together. And obviously they must have been dissatisfied with the results because it didn't make the final set list for the concert. But interesting that they rehearsed it. This song has also been covered by Olivia Newton-John, had quite a sizable hit with it in 1971, I believe. Brian Ferry also did it. So it's one of Bob's, and if you look at most of Bob's songs, if you're trying to learn them on the guitar or piano, they are immensely simple because they're just 3 or 4 chords, and that's one of the beauty of Bob Dylan as a songwriter. He can write memorable tunes which are just beautiful in their simplicity, and this is one of them, a good example of that. The technique he uses, effortless really. Then we get Day of the Locusts. I'm just trying to, this features Maretha Stewart on backing vocal. This is quite interesting song lyrically, but I haven't really investigated what it means, but it's not a particularly enjoyable track for me. It's quite interesting, as I say, but melodically not up there with Bob's best. Not bad though. Time Passes Slowly is a rather, I wouldn't say dreary, but it's not a very captivating song for me. And again, the album's slightly going downhill after the opening track for me. Went to See the Gypsy. Again, interesting lyrics. Doesn't do too much for me as a song. The first song to really hit home for me, after If Not For You, would be Winterlude, the 5th track. Winterlude, This Dude Thinks You're Fine. I think it's an absolutely beautiful track. Sentimental, yes, but none the worse for that. This song reminds me a bit of I Threw It All Away from Nashville Skyline, that kind of feel. And at the time, Dylan was going through a very happy and peaceful domestic life, just out in Woodstock or wherever he lived in the countryside with his wife and kids. And that comes through on this track, more than, say, the previous tracks I mentioned on After If Not For You, which again is a straight love song. So that Winterlude is outstanding. If Dogs Run Free is a very interesting track. With piano from, let me see who plays piano on this track. Does it tell you who? Because it's got the jazz piano. I think it's probably Al Cooper. And apparently he did do this song in the year 2000 in concert, which is interesting. I never knew that. There's only 4 songs from here which he has performed live. I'm just trying to work out, because it didn't say in the review, the internet site I read didn't say which ones they were, but if Dogs Run Free is one of them, I guess If Not For You must be another. I can't think of the others, maybe New Morning, but anyway. So Dogs Run Free, interesting track. He's never really done anything like it, and for that reason alone, this is the back cover, by the way. Not sure who that's. If anyone knows who that is with Bob, then write it in the comments. I'm not sure. I should have researched that. Side 2 opens with New Morning, and maybe it sums up the feeling of the album. I'm not sure if it was a new morning for Bob Dylan really, although, and John Lennon was asked this in the Rolling Stone interview of 1970 by Jan Wenner, is it a new morning? And Lennon said, well, maybe for him it is, because he's not singing at the top of his voice anymore. But like he had, his country style of singing is in the background. He's back to his more normal voice, should we say. But Lennon didn't think this album was anything special, really. He said it was all right. I think it was his word. He said, but it could have been anyone. It could have been McCartney. Rather derogatorily said. I think it probably was a bit overhyped, this album, when it came out, in terms of the critical reaction to it. But there we go. It's certainly got its merits, as I said. So New Morning is quite a strong opener to side 2. Not an absolute classic by any means, but good uplifting lyrics. But Sign on the Window is a more interesting track for me, because again, it reflects his domestic situation. And who'd have thought, when one's listening to Blonde on Blonde 4 years earlier, that, and with all those great lyrics about stuck inside a mobile with the Memphis Blues again, and Grandpa setting fire to Main Street and stuff like that, that 4 years later he'd be writing a verse like, build me a cabin in Utah, marry me a wife, catch rainbow trout, have a bunch of kids who call me Pa. That must be what it's all about. That must be what it's all about. I think, hats off to Bob for being honest and saying, this is where I am. If you don't like it, don't buy it. It's virtually the same attitude he'd had with Self-Portrait. He just wanted to do that kind of album at that time in his life. And I think both this album and Self-Portrait have, hindsight displays their charms more than they were given, particularly Self-Portrait was not given any credit at all at the time. So, yeah, just because the lyrics are not, fantastically complicated or full of imagery doesn't make them less poignant or moving. One More Weekend is a kind of blues song, again with romantic song, One More Weekend with You kind of thing, nothing special. And The Man in Me is just another glorious celebration of domestic bliss. That's the best way I can put it. And maybe the female backing vocalists are a little bit over the top on this track, but that's minor criticism. I think it's a very moving song. And again, kind of reminiscent of the kind of feel he had on Nashville Skyline. Just a straight love song, basically. Brilliant. Three Angels. I think he's taking the mickey here. The words are a lot of fun to listen to, and there's these mad... I think the mad backing vocals are probably on If Dogs Run Free. Three Angels is a kind of melodramatic song with spoken lyrics. Bob is just speaking the lyrics, so I don't think they probably mean too much. Don't read too much into it, but it's an amusing track. And then the album finishes with Father of Night, where Bob is playing very nice piano and singing one assumes to God. He's never stated it, I don't think, but it's interesting to see him singing a sort of religious song 9 years before Slow Train Coming. A very nice closer to the album. I think I've said all there is to say, really. It's an interesting album in his catalogue, and certainly probably overlooked these days and worth checking out. So, see you next time. Thanks for watching.